Have you ever stopped to think how, I don't know, an event like a digital crackdown, somewhere seemingly far away like Kathmandu, could actually send these immediate shockwaves, ripples that travel, say, 1,200 kilometers, and fundamentally change daily life for a whole community?
It's a really powerful connection to trace, and that's exactly what we're digging into today. We're looking at the recent political turmoil that really shook Nepal, and then following those threads directly to the very personal effects on the community in Sonagachi, Kolkata.
Right, Sonagachi in India, it's this incredibly vibrant, but also, let's be honest, quite vulnerable place.
Absolutely. And this narrative, it just lays bare these hidden connections, between a nation's big political struggles and individual lives.
So our journey today really is to understand those intricate links. How a nation's fight for change reshapes the everyday reality for people dealing with a world where borders feel both, well, open and very, very real.
We'll explore the roots of the unrest in Nepal, the human cost, which was significant, and importantly, the resilience of the people caught right in the middle of it all.
Okay, so let's set the scene. Kathmandu, Nepal's capital, September 8th, 2025. What did it look like?
Picture streets just ablaze with protests, thousands of young Nepalese, really this Gen Z protest movement coming to the fore. They're out there, voices loud, demanding change. It sounds like it was incredibly intense.
Yeah, definitely. So what was the immediate spark? What lit the fuse for that level of anger?
Well, it kicked off just a few days earlier, September 4th. The government suddenly decided to block access to 26 major social media platforms. We're talking the big ones: Facebook, YouTube, WhatsApp, X, you name it.
Wow, okay. And the official reason?
Officially. Curbing misinformation, online fraud, that kind of thing. But, for many young Nepalese, it felt like a direct attack, an assault on free speech.
Like a tool to silence dissent, maybe?
Yeah,
Against a government already facing accusations of what? Corruption and nepotism.
exactly. Rampant corruption, nepotism, those were the underlying currents. So this ban felt like pouring fuel on the fire.
And these deeper frustrations. This wasn't just about the internet, was it?
Oh, not at all. These young people, they were looking around, inspired by similar movements in South Asia, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, where youth protests actually led to government changes.
Right.
So you heard them chanting things like "shut down corruption, not social media" at places like the Medikar Mandala. It was this raw cry against, well, huge economic inequality, massive unemployment.
And the contrast with the lifestyles of political families, I imagine.
Yeah.
In a country where the average income is so low, like $1,300 a year.
Precisely. That visual, that feeling of unfairness, it was a huge driver.
So things turned violent. September 8th, you mentioned. What happened? How did it escalate so tragically?
Yeah, it really boiled over. Thousands of protesters stormed the federal parliament building. Parts of it were set on fire. They clashed violently with security forces.
And response?
It was harsh. Tear gas, water cannons, rubber bullets, and the reports of live ammunition being used. The result, by the end of that day, was at least 19 people dead, over 100 injured.
19 lives lost. That's devastating.
Yeah.
And it didn't end there.
No, the chaos continued into September 9th. Protesters defied curfews. There were attacks on other government buildings, even homes of politicians. One former official's wife was badly injured in an arson attack on their home. Just awful scenes.
So the political consequences must have been swift.
Very swift. The social media ban lifted on September 9th. But it was, frankly, too late to calm things down. Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli resigned that same day.
Resigned, wow.
Yeah. And the Nepali army had to be deployed to try and restore order. It left this really dangerous political vacuum, a huge amount of uncertainty.
You mentioned the social media ban wasn't just an inconvenience. Can you expand on that? Why was it such a critical issue?
Right. It's crucial to get this. For these protesters, for many Nepalese, it wasn't just about sharing updates or, memes. It severed lifelines.
Lifelines, how so?
Nepal's economy depends heavily on remittances, money sent home by millions of Nepalese working abroad in the Gulf, Malaysia, Europe, everywhere. These aren't small amounts. They're vital for families, a huge part of the national income.
Okay, I see.
And these social media platforms, especially things like WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, they are absolutely essential for staying connected with family back home, managing finances, sending that money. So shutting them down, even briefly, it hit people directly in their ability to support their families. That amplified the anger enormously.
That makes perfect sense. It wasn't abstract. It was immediate, personal.
Exactly. And the human cost, those 19 deaths, they weren't just numbers. They were students, young professionals, people demanding accountability.
And the international reaction.
Strong condemnation. Human Rights Watch, the UN, they all spoke out, urging the government not just to use force, but to actually address the root causes, the deep frustrations driving people into the streets.
And looking wider, you mentioned this isn't unique to Nepal, this kind of youth-led protest.
No, it really fits a pattern across South Asia. We saw similar things fueled by economic stagnation, anger over corruption, topple governments in Sri Lanka back in 2022, and Bangladesh in 2024. You even see these hashtags gaining traction, like hashtag Nepo babies or hashtag Nepo kids, kind of highlighting that perceived privilege of the political elite while so many struggle. It's a shared language of frustration.
Interesting. And how did neighbors react? India, for example.
India responded with official concern. The Ministry of External Affairs issued a travel advisory on September 9th for its citizens in Nepal, basically, shelter in place.
Okay.
Prime Minister Modi expressed anguish over the deaths, appealed for restraint. And Mamata Banerjee, the chief minister of West Bengal, which shares that border, she appealed for calm in border districts like Siliguri, trying to prevent any spillover.
Which brings us across that border. Because these events in Kathmandu, they didn't just stay in Nepal, did they? You said they sent shockwaves 1,200 kilometers away.
That's right, all the way to Kolkata, India, and specifically to Sonagachi in North Kolkata.
Sonagachi, known as Asia's largest red light district. A really complex place, a network of alleys, history going back 150 years.
Exactly. And the direct human link here is stark. Estimates suggest around 20% of Sonagachi's sex workers, maybe 11,000 women work there in total, are actually Nepali women.
20%, so a significant number.
A very significant number. They've migrated across that porous border, often out of sheer economic necessity, looking for a way to make a living in Kolkata. So turmoil back home, it hits them directly.
You can only imagine the anxiety. What were the immediate fears for these women?
Just profound anxiety, fears about, well, tighter border controls, potentially cutting them off, disruptions to the money they managed to send home, but most urgently, just terrifying uncertainty about their family's safety back in Nepal.
That must have been awful.
Yeah, I read about one woman, Laxmi, 28 years old, from Nepal's Chitwan district. She said, "I haven't spoken to my mother in 3 days. The news shows burning buildings and police firing. I don't know if my family is safe." That just, it hits you, doesn't it? How personal these big events become.
Absolutely heartbreaking. And beyond the immediate fear, what about the sort of longer-term vulnerabilities?
Well, the worry is that continued economic instability in Nepal could push more women across the border. Desperate situations can arise.
Leading to increased trafficking.
Tragically, yes, that's a real danger. A social worker there put it very bluntly. When there's chaos at home, people get desperate. That desperation is what traffickers prey on. Instability there fuels exploitation here.
So the support systems on the ground in Sonagachi must be critical. Groups like SKHM, South Kolkata Humari Muskan.
Yes, exactly. They do vital work, educating the children of sex workers, trying to offer alternative livelihoods. They reported this real spike in anxiety among the Nepali women.
Worried not just about family, but their own situation there. Debt, exploitation.
Yeah, all of it. Worries about their work, their safety, potentially falling deeper into debt if their support lines back home are cut. It's a precarious existence made even more so.
Yet, amidst all this anxiety, you mentioned resilience. Life goes on in Sonagachi.
It does. It's quite remarkable. You walk through those bustling lanes, and despite everything, there's activity. These community clubs, often run by local figures, they become safe havens.
Places where kids can study.
Uh.
With help from groups like SKHM.
Exactly. Kids studying, sometimes sleeping under raised beds while their mothers work nearby. It's a stark reality, but also a glimpse of hope, of people carving out a space for the next generation.
It really makes you think about what survival means in that context.
It does. Another woman, Sunita, 35, from Pokhara in Nepal, she said something really powerful. "If things get worse in Nepal, more girls will come here. But this life isn't easy. You survive, but you don't live."
You survive, but you don't live. Wow.
Yeah. And she pointed out how initiatives trying to empower women with other skills, candle making, catering, things like that, they face huge challenges already. Economic fallout from Nepal could strain those vital programs even more. She said, "We're trying to build hope, but it's hard when the world around them is falling apart."
Such a powerful perspective. So, tying this all together, what's the main takeaway from this deep dive?
For me, it's just the undeniable interconnectedness, how a protest, a political decision in Kathmandu sends these very real, tangible shockwaves rippling out, impacting lives hundreds of kilometers away in Kolkata.
Yeah, it really shows how political unrest just doesn't respect borders, does it? The effects are felt so personally, often in ways we don't immediately see.
Precisely. And while, yes, the social media ban in Nepal was lifted, the prime minister resigned. The core issues haven't gone away.
The corruption, the unemployment, the inequality.
Exactly. Those deep-seated problems are still there. So the fight for Nepal's youth, it's about much more than just getting back online. It's about trying to shape a future where their voices actually count, where the country can tackle these fundamental issues.
So maybe a final thought for you, our listener, to reflect on. What does it truly mean to survive versus live when your whole sense of home, your identity, your future is constantly being shaped by political storms happening far away across fragile, sometimes invisible borders?
It really speaks to the endurance of the human spirit, doesn't it? Finding that resilience, finding ways to build hope, even when everything feels so uncertain.